Hello, welcome and good morning to Morning Brew on Labour Social. I'm Graham Hughes. It is Friday, the 12th of January 2022. I'm a bit dark. I'm going to just turn a light on. Straight into it today. We're going to be talking about the Teesside corruption scandal that's been kicking off this week. So first of all, let's show you a little bit from the actual inquiry that's going on in Parliament. This is Michael Gove with a very strange mark on his forehead. I don't know if he's been headbutting things out of frustration at his own stupidity or what is going on. But anyway, here's his response to this this question of whether what's happened in Teesside, I'll get into it in a little bit, is value for money for taxpayers. Okay, now I want you to bear in mind that for every pound that we got out of this project, for every £1, it cost us in kind of real terms here, £1 million. So we invest £1, we lose £1 million. I know that sounds like just a bit too much, but just watch this. Just watch this.
Many of those questions are now begged by the publication of the Teesworks accounts, the first year of those accounts. Have you read those?
Right. I need to make it so you can hear what is going on.
Questions are now begged by the publication of the Teesworks accounts, the first year of those accounts. Have you read those accounts?
I have not.
Are you familiar with what they say?
Broadly familiar, yes.
So, as you all know, the piece of land which is on the maps here, 110 acres has basically been bought by a company, 90% owned by friends and close associates of Lord Houchin at £1 an acre. £1 an acre, that's 110 acres. There was then a leasing deal and some rights over scrap metal on the site. That together means that the company, 90% owned by these associates, has a turnover of £143 million and about £50 million in profit in 1 year that has largely now gone out to these private shareholders.
Wow.
In your view, at first blush, does that sound like best value was secured for taxpayers?
I can't answer that question, as you know, because
What?
while this inquiry is going on, what I mustn't do is preempt or end run its conclusions.
My God.
Separately, as I mentioned to Ian, I am a
can't say
huge
if
champion.
The investment of £1
of what Ben
which
Hatchton
resulted
has
in the
done.
loss of £1 million.
Were I in
is
any
a good
other role
investment or
other
not.
than this one, I would be more than happy
Gets better.
to mount not just a defence, but a vigorous and energetic defence of the approach that he has taken throughout. But serious issues have been raised. Ian and you have articulated them. We take them seriously, and that is why we want the report to do its work properly and then conclude. And I can't, I know it's frustrating for me, as it must be for the committee. I can't, before, what you were inviting me to do, in a perfectly legitimate question, of course, is to say,
Look at him
to
squirm.
look at the headline in a press report from a trial.
It's not a press report, it's a set of company accounts, and what it says is that in 1 year, a company that's bought 110 acres for £1 an acre is now turning over 143 million and shoveling £50 million out to private shareholders in profits. And I guess my question to you is, are you confident that we have secured best value for
scandal
taxpayers?
after scandal after
Have
scandal?
you got full confidence in the governance of Teesworks Limited today?
Again, you're asking me a question about this particular issue, which an investigation is currently
Can't talk about investigation.
looking at
Can't
in detail.
say whether
from this committee's point of view,
investment of
perhaps
£1,
excessive
loss of £1
detail.
million.
To ask me to preempt it would be well, it's legitimate to ask, but it would be wrong for me to preempt it.
Okay.
Why would it be wrong?
You've got full confidence in Lord Houchin's conduct in relation to this.
Listen to this.
I do, yes.
He has
I
full
have the highest
confidence
regard
in
for
the
him,
guy
but what I don't
who
want
sold
to do
public land
is
for
by
100
anything
quid
that I
to his
say
mate to have made
to,
143 million in profit
conclusions
in 1
of
year.
The investigation.
In 1 year.
And I can speak on a personal level.
You can.
And I can say that I have the
You're even protected by parliamentary privilege here.
I have the highest regard for Ben in all of my observations and dealings with him.
Unbelievable.
I think that he is a first-rate public servant who's been responsible for the economic transformation of the Tees Valley, and he is a great and visionary leader in local government.
You must accept when there are such heightened concerns about, for example, the PPE contracts, when we have a deal like this that appears to be routing £50 million in profit on a very strange deal that has released 110 acres for £1 an acre, there are real concerns about whether taxpayer interests have been safeguarded. And my question to you is, do you have full confidence in whether the arrangements have secured best value for taxpayers?
Best value for taxpayers. I mean, come on. This is just, for those of you not caught up with this, this is Lord Houchin, now Lord Houchin. This is some nomarch who managed to become the Teesside mayor, metropolitan mayor, effectively, of the Teesside area up in around the northeast up here where I am, and he did this incredibly dodgy deal in which he gave his friends and associates a bit of land, 110 acres for £110. I'll say that again, 110 acres, right, of the port area. And this is all tied in with the Tory thing about having free ports, because they just want the market to run everything. Oh, the market's so beautiful and perfect. If only the market could make everything happen. The market, there's no morality anymore. There's just the market. 110, because he could. The little corrupt scumbag could. He could sell public land for £110, and it's worth at least 143 million a year. How much is your house worth a year? Not in total, a year. Is it worth 143 million pounds? Is it? Did you give 50 million of it to shareholders? Is that what you got? For your 100, did you get 110 acres of land for 100 quid? Did you? The corruption here is off the charts. I put it in the title, didn't I? It's in the stratosphere. I am so fucking sick and tired of this Tory corruption at every level. Everywhere you look, some grubby little old school chum of the Tories is making money, making loads of money. Even though they were born with money, they went to the poshest schools, the most expensive schools in the country. But no, that's not enough. They need to make more money. Have you noticed how when, you or I need money, i.e. compensation maybe for the workers at the post office who were absolutely and thoroughly screwed by the post office, by Paula Venables, privately educated, and that horrible little scouse creep who was on being questioned yesterday. I don't know if you saw that. I was going to play a clip of it, but it just, I think because he's from Liverpool, it just gets my back up even more. But when there's compensation to be paid to people like that, or people who are caught up in the Grenfell tragedy, or Hillsborough, or even the murder of Daniel Morgan, who was brutally murdered with possibly complicity from the police, or even collaboration from the police. He was murdered. Justice for that takes so long. But you know what? If you're already rich and you want to get a bit richer, just give the Tories a call. They'll be there this afternoon. We'll sort that out for you. We'll rush you through VIP lanes for every one of you rich motherfuckers. Wow. And the Tories are still there, smug as hell. Does that represent good value to the taxpayer? And he's like, well, I couldn't possibly comment. It's all a big game, The North East is one of the most deprived areas in the country. For every £1,000 they spend per capita on public transport down in London. They spend about £16 in this area, in Durham and in Teesside, Newcastle, Gateshead. And we are left with picking up the pieces from years, decades of neglect. It's no wonder Sunderland voted for Brexit. They felt left behind. But what Sunderland did was they listened to the posh dickheads, the posh racist dickheads. And they went, oh yeah, posh racist dickhead. That's the kind of person we need to be listening to because they're really going to help us out. Well, how are they helping out right now? Because you have a company that has made £143 million of profit that could have gone to the taxpayer. Could have come to us. That could have paid for hundreds, thousands of nurses, doctors, teachers, firefighters, ambulance drivers, train drivers even, if the trains were nationalised, like they should be. God, it could pay for so much stuff. And yet, it went into the back pockets of people who were already rich. And this guy, this Ben Houchen, Lord Houchen, he came from nowhere. He was made mayor in 2017. A bit of surprise, probably, off the back of Brexit. And he's now a lord. In the same way that they gave Paula Venables from the post office, the CEO of the post office, they gave her a gong. What was it, a CBE? Commander of the British Empire? Is that what she got? 2019. They had known about the scandal at that point for 9 years. 9 years they had known that the post office had purposely gone after people for stealing money when they didn't steal any money. My God, the monumental stack of corruption. I should have made a list before I started. I was a bit late getting started because I was trying to queue that video up and it wasn't downloading for some reason. A bad streamer always blames his internet. Can I make that a little quote? I'll have it come up on the screen. My God. So we've got the VIP lane. Unbelievable. We've got HS2. The government bought all this land between Birmingham and Manchester. And now they're selling it off to their mates. Cut price. So the government used your money to buy that land. And now they're selling it to their mates for less money than we paid for it. Jobs for the boys. I'm going to jump into the chat now. Sorry for neglecting you up to this point. The corruption, the PPE scandals. PPE. People freaking died because they didn't have the correct protection. And the Tories are sitting there guffawing away. And there are people who think they're on the left, who are happy to have another 5 years of this. You're not on the left, mate. You're not on the left. If you can stomach, if you can tolerate, if you can survive another 5 years of this, then you are not liberal. You're not left-wing. Maybe you're so left-wing, you're a totalitarian communist. I don't know. But you must have a bit of bread, mustn't you? You must have a bit of wodge. You must have a bit of the green stuff, right? Right? You must do. How else are you going to survive the next 5 years? Are you a trust fund baby? Unbefrickin-leavable. Number 3 says our justice system is very poor. Well, it is very poor. Literally, it's got no money because the government has been defunding it for many years. Like it's been defunding the NHS. That's the Tory mantra. Defund public services. Jan says, talking of mofos, I've just been watching The Hague and the start of Israel's defense. I don't know how they're going to do that. A bit unrelated. How do you pronounce Tyne and Wear? Tyne and Wear. It's the River Wear that runs through Durham. And there's Weirs, which is spelled differently, on the Wear in Durham. So if you're in the city of Durham, not the county, because the county's also called Durham. So like New York, they named it twice. So our address here is Durham. But yes, it's the Weir. Cash for questions is nothing. I think if you live here since birth, you call it the Weir. They have a thing of putting like an extra syllable in things. So here in Durham, they speak a dialect called Pitmatic, which is related to Geordie, and they love putting extra syllables and stuff. And so they say film like Irish people say film. They say film here. And also, if there's a word like more, I'll have more of that. They go moor, moor, which is it's a lovely little peculiarity of the British Isles that we all have so many different accents. Pitmatic, though, is a really cool name for your accent. I hear there's a struggle to sell land around Crewe for HS2. If so, that's good news. Could it still be resurrected? I don't know. I mean, I found myself in the very uncomfortable position of reading an article by Peter Hitchens in September of him saying they should do away with HS2 and do low speed 1 instead, which is something that I've been saying for years. And I'm like, either we've had some kind of horrible convergence. I don't like agreeing with people like Peter Hitchens. His brother, perhaps, but not Peter. Or he's been watching my videos and he's gone, yeah, actually, that would make sense to make low-speed rail lines, get the slow trains off the East Coast and West Coast main line, and then you would improve the services massively, because if all the trains are running at 125 miles an hour, they can leave every 3 minutes. Well, maybe not 3 minutes, it'd be a bit dangerous, but maybe 5 minutes. Maybe 5 minutes. You could have 20 trains an hour running to London if you wanted to. Durham is where the wheat comes from. Maybe. I don't know. There's Dunelm as well. So, you know Dunelm, the furniture place, Dunelm. That's the old name for Durham. So, if you get a degree from Durham University, you know, like after your degree, if you got it from Oxford, it says Oxon. And if you get it from Cambridge, it says Cams. Well, here it says Dunelm. After your degree, it says, you know, BA, MA, MSc, whatever it is, PhD. Dunelm. There you go. Low speed 1 is utter bollocks, says Tim. You'll have to elaborate on that, mate. For anyone who wonders which relatively normal people vote Tory, my sister-in-law lives on a diet of BBC and ignorance, and my other half's aunt is 80 and knows nothing else. Both blinkered. Nick, can you send them that video that I've just posted? I think I might be able to get you the actual tweet. This is from Mike Galsworthy. He tweeted it. Just send it. There you go. I'll put it in the chat. Nick, send that. Send that to people who vote Tory and just go, this is a Tory mayor and he sold that public land for £110. And the company he sold it to, his friends and acquaintances, right? They made 143 million in profit the following year. Durham wheat is Durham wheat is named after the Latin word Durham, meaning hard. Well, there you go. We got left with the crap brother when Hitch died. The brother is a godfather. It seems so mad that one of the most prolific and outspoken atheists of our generation should have a brother who is actually a religious person who honestly believes, and I don't mean to offend anyone watching this, but come on, who believes that the most difficult questions that mankind ever asked themselves about why are we here? How did it all begin? What happens after you die? All those questions were answered with 100% deadly accuracy by illiterate shepherds and goat herds in a desert in the Bronze Age. And the answer was, a wizard did it. Okay, Peter. Right. Towering intellect there, got to say. Well, when you put it that way, I mean, it does sound a little bit possibly outrageous, but, you know, wizards move in mysterious ways, I guess. And they're never late. Hugh says, Northumberland and Cumbria, south of Scotland, is the barley and for brewery. Barley for brewing. Oh, easy for you to say. Growing. Jesus Christ. Barley for brewing, growing capital of Britain. North of the Fife, it's the oats growing capital of Britain. Well, there you go. One of the reasons why Australian beer doesn't taste so good is that hops can only grow at certain latitudes. And Australia don't have too many of those latitudes. True story. Alberta did it stand to reason. Bible rewritten over 600 times with tons of accepted political inserts along the way. It's tosh at best. No, it was a wizard. Shut up. It was a wizard, and these illiterate goat people in the desert, they sussed it out. They knew who it was. We'll have a look at the video, Graham. Thanks. Can't guarantee I get them to see sense. They're perfectly lovely people, just politically dumb as F. Well, that's the problem with a lot of Tory voters who don't really think about it too much. They just go, okay, well, I'll just vote Tory. But what I think when I talk to people and I speak when I interact with people who aren't politically interested, let's call them that. They're not politically interested, which is fair enough. It's an okay position to be. You can still upset them by showing them stuff like that and saying, have you seen this corruption? The Partygate scandal, the post office scandal. Although the Tories are trying to pin that on Ed Davey. I mean, no offence, but F off. Just like, what? Why would I say no offence to the Tories? As much offence as possible, F off. He was one of the people involved in this. One. If he has to fall, then there's about 12 Tories who also have to go down as well for this. And as for Paula Venables, I mean, this is going to sicken everybody that over, was it 900 people in the end? I know it's 700 at least. Let's say 700. 700 people charged with stealing from the post office when they didn't do anything wrong. 700 people. Now, you think of all the trauma, you think about the fines that were given out, you think about the prison sentences, you think about the people who have taken their own lives as a result of that, right? It's a hell of a punishment. Paula Venables got a CBE. She got a gong. And so it's like, if you're normal, if you're an ordinary citizen, and they think you've stolen $5,000 over a year from the post office in which you work, you can go to jail. You have to pay that back. But if you're the posh, privately educated toff overseeing the post office, or Ofcom, or Ofsted, or, whatever quasi-government quango you're being put in charge in by your old schoolmates, what's the punishment? Got a hand back your gong. Aww. Someone had to hang back me gong. I like that. I liked having that gong. When I signed up to get catalogs delivered, I could put CBE at the end of my name. I won't be able to do that now. Cry me a river. Michael Gove did the same when he flogged our public land to his academy school chums. Absolutely. Gary Arnold says, I wasn't that keen on Lord of the Rings. Well, go away then. I have nothing to say to you, sir. Get out of my chat. No, I'm joking. You can stay, Gary. All opinions are welcome. Some opinions are more welcome than others. The burning bush was cannabis. Motors was just a little high. Explains a lot. Well, I mean, there was the Pharaoh Akhenaten who decided there weren't loads of gods. There was just one god called Aten, who was the god of the light, the sun, maybe love. Who knows? And he created an entire city, him and his wife, Nefertiti. And when he died, the person who took over from him, the person who became pharaoh, was just a little kid. And so the priests who were still old school, orthodox, they took the religion back to what it used to be, with having lots of gods, multiplicity of gods, Ra, Ammon, Horus, and Isis, Osiris, and all that lot, right? They were all brought back, and the city that Akhenaten and his wife Nefertiti had, who ruled as co-regents, actually, co-monarchs, their city was completely destroyed. It was just razed to the ground, and that boy grew up to be no one because he died as a boy. It was Tutankhamun. True story. There you go. And so that's what Tutankhamun did in his time. Short time in office before he died, before he carked it. He brought back the old religion. But it's interesting that if you sort of add up the dates in the Bible, which is, I'm told, is a very accurate method for sussing out the dates of things, the time of the Exodus from Egypt isn't that far out from the death of Akhenaten. So it's almost as though there was a cult who said, no, there is still one God. We still believe that. That's good. Who were forced to leave the country and go and live elsewhere. There you go. True story. Maybe. I don't know. Akhenaten was the guy with the long, weird-shaped head. Yeah, possibly an alien. Hence Stargate. And also this patriarchal, white, racist idea that brown people can't make something as magnificent as the pyramids without some help from white people or aliens. One of the two. Listening to Tory, Sir Keith's office table at the DPP was stacked full up to the ceiling and out the door with what he did investigate and charge, never mind about Mr. Savile. Yes, the Tories should read the Bible rather than Michael Levitt. Sorry, Maggie Bye, all right. I think that if many people who purport to be really into religion, if they read the Bible and read that little bit about, rich people can't go to heaven, mate. They just don't go to heaven. And I always imagine this scene of like the Pope going to heaven and Prince, what's his name, St. Peter being at the pearly gate saying, so you can't come in. Why not? Because you were rich? No, I wasn't. I lived in poverty. I lived in a simple bed, in a simple room, in your own city, in a palace, fortress, on top of a hill, spread over many acres. A place that had its own currency, its own banking, its own postal service. You wore clothes woven with gold. You were poor, mate. You had people to make your food for you every day. That's some really, I think they imagine they have this kind of like Clarence Darrow character who comes in as their lawyer, this celestial lawyer, like in a matter of life and death, the Powell and Pressburger movie. They come in and they like argue on behalf of the Jacob Rees-Mogg. Well, you see St. Peter, I don't know Sir Peter, Sir Peter, he was worth over £100 million, but he did go to Eton, but he made loads of money out of human suffering, but he believed in God, I guess, and Jesus. Didn't do anything that Jesus suggested, like loving our neighbors or not hoarding all your money like a giant dragon in The Hobbit. But there you go. Jez says Akhenaten was a pretty interesting geezer. A long face and feminine hip thing is from inbreeding, and Lincoln had it too. Well, there you go. Maybe they're related. Yovash says, actually, while omnipotent, omnipotent, omni-spiel is rather recent view on divinity, for most of the history, gods were just as effed up as mortal, yet just far more powerful. Yes, Yovash. And this is why I think that, the superhero universe, which is kind of coming to an end, it's petering out at the moment, but why it's so popular. Because you look at the old myths, the gods were just basically human with superpowers. They just were. There was no two ways about it. They were like, yeah, he falls in love, he gets angry, he gets jealous, he falls into lust. But he has superpowers. Move mountains, make lightning come, and make floods, plagues of frogs for some reason. Oh my God, not the frogs, not the. Just imagine like Ramesses II buried up to his neck in the sand. Going, not the frogs, not the frogs. Anyone who's seen the remake of The Wicker Man, hate to bring back bad memories. It's been a remarkably lovely week this week. Blue skies, some today again, not so cold today for a change. Was out the daybreak early at 8 a.m, but bracing morning it was. It's been really crap in Durham. It's been really grey and overcast, but at least we're not flooded. The wealth in the Vatican Museum makes me sick. Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of that was pillaged from foreign lands, and those conquistadors went around the world with especially the New World, with this zeal that they had God by their side and God mid-house, and they could do whatever the hell they liked. And it's very telling that at the end of the third voyage to the New World by Columbus, he was actually escorted out of the New World in chains, in shackles, because he'd been arrested because he was treating the locals so badly, the local Caribs and Arawaks so badly. I mean, how badly did he have to be treating them for the Spanish authorities to actually arrest him? for mistreating the native people of the land. I mean, wow. But still, he was given another ship and allowed to go back for a fourth voyage. So, you know what happens to wealthy people when they get caught doing something wrong. Come on, all is forgiven. Some things never change. Rye bread goes a mold, which is hallucinogenic. Cool. Admiral says, slight diversion, but did you see the interview on Sky News with John Gullis, who challenged Gary Lineker to take Stoke off him? Jonathan Gullis, privately educated thug. He looks like a howler monkey. He makes noises like a howler monkey. He makes the facial expressions of a howler monkey. And yeah, he went to a very expensive school. But work that one out. He likes to come across, as just a man of the people, as they all do. Trump in America, he's a man of the people. Did you know he's a man of the people? No, he's bloody not. He's a billionaire. Man of the people. My arse, he shits in a bloody, what's it called, a golden toilet? Like some kind of African dictator from the 1970s. I mean, God's sake. Anyway, yeah, still worried. Alex says, the Exodus story is from the end of the 14th dynasty when they were defeated by the 17th dynasty. Coincides with the eruption of the volcano on Crete. Was it Santorini? The big Santorini explosion, which also gave rise to the pillar of smoke that they see when they're exodusing, and also possibly the Atlantis myth of Plato. Fun stuff. I'm sure you want me on your quiz team. Duke says, Zeus spent his time transforming into animals and then having his wicked way with women as the animal. Be careful what you wish for, Yoni. Yeah, he turned into a swan once. It's a very weird thing to do. He turned into a swan. Well, I'll seduce this woman who I fancy by looking like a swan. I hear she's really into swans. All right, mate. If there is an afterlife, I like the Norse mythology. Valhalla, fight with your mates during the day, then the dead are brought back to life. You go stuff your face, get pissed, and sing. That doesn't sound great to me, Captain, because I think dying would be painful, especially dying in the field of battle. I think that would be mildly uncomfortable. Because one of the things they got right in Saving Private Ryan is when people get shot in reality, they don't necessarily just die like that. In Hollywood, they go, and fall over. They start dying. And it can take between, a few minutes and a few hours for people to die. I mean, probably the most realistic depiction of that is Reservoir Dogs, where poor old, I've forgotten his name now, Mr. Orange, stays alive for, Tim Roth stays alive for the duration of the movie, almost. You'll have to watch it. After being shot. Michael Gove from Expenses claims house acquisition, school privatisation, the deeds of public land for thousands of schools held in offshore for his academy chums, the PPE scandal, HMP needed. Yeah, throw him in jail. The school privatisation, I mean, what the Tories have done with is it the free schools they set up? There's another scandal waiting in there. It's just an absolute cavalcade of corruption. There's no other way of describing it. They are the literal worst of us. It's kind of painful. I've gone way over time, but James O'Brien's off today. So, you don't have to run away to LBC just yet, if you don't want to. I've been trying to get the papers up. I don't know why the papers aren't showing here on my screen. It's kind of annoying me. There we go.
Many of those questions are now begged by the publication of the Teesworks accounts, the first year of those accounts. Have you read those accounts?
I have not.
Are you familiar with what they say?
Big thing about
broadly familiar, yes.
So, as you all know, the piece of land which is on the maps here, 110 acres has basically been bought by a company, 90% owned by friends and close associates of Lord Hampton at £1 an acre. £1 an acre, that's 110 acres. There was then a leasing deal and some rights over scrap metal on the site. That together means that the company, 90% owned by these associates, has a turnover of £143 million and about £50 million in profit in 1 year that has largely now gone out to these private shareholders. In your view, at first blush, does that sound like best value was secured for taxpayers?
I can't answer that question, as you know, because while this inquiry is going on, what I mustn't do is preempt or end run its conclusions. Separately, as I mentioned to Ian, I am a huge champion of what Ben Hatchin has done. Were I in any other role other than this one,
Somalia and Yemen.
I would be more than happy to mount not just a defence, but a vigorous and energetic defence of the approach that he has taken throughout. But serious issues have been raised. Ian and you have articulated them.
Oh. Yeah, sorry, I just got told that my video is on. Oh shit. Okay. Let's just take that was the audio from the video I showed you earlier. It just auto played when I moved screens. Sorry about that. Let me move it. Go away, Michael Gove. I can hear Michael Gove. Someone send super chat. Yes, facts. Someone send super chat and let me know. Okay, so sorry. I'll just say what I just said again, I guess, with you being able to hear it. Can't hear you, Graham. The video audio from earlier is playing, says Sarah in capitals. Sorry, I didn't see that. I was just talking about what's happening in Yemen and the fact that the US and the UK have authorized the bombing of Yemen, Houthi targets in Yemen. And this is something that we're going to talk about probably a little bit later on in the 1 o'clock show, the agenda with me and Phil Morehouse. And there was questions being asked, why wasn't this put before Parliament before it was agreed to? And the reality is that British prime ministers don't have to put it before Parliament before they do something like this, and neither do American presidents. They can just do this kind of stuff. And it's one of the reasons why American presidents are so keen often to go on daft military adventures around the world, because they don't need to put it through Congress. They want to support Ukraine in their fight against Russia. That can get held up by Congress, and it is being held up by Congress. Whereas if they just wanted to bomb Russia, that's just up to the president. Doesn't really have to ask permission. The rule is in America that you can invade a country and then you can ask Congress for permission. And if Congress vote on it immediately and say no, you've got 6 weeks to withdraw the troops. I think that is a wartime provision that they've never gotten rid of. And it's one of the reasons why I'm so worried about Trump becoming president of the United States, because there's a lot of power. There's a lot of power in that post. Mute Gove. I muted him. There's definitely one for the F around and find out. You don't mess with world trade. People with deep pockets don't like that. Well, exactly. But I mean, one of the reasons why Iran is doing this, why Iran is funding the Houthis to do this, is because they want to cause a wider war in the Middle East. They want what's happening in Gaza, the terrible events that's happening in Gaza, to spread out all over the Middle East, and that's not happening. And I think that there's some people in charge in Iran who are unhappy that the situation hasn't got a lot worse for the people of the Middle East. God knows why this is what they want. I mean, I know there is a schism between the Sunnis and the Shiite sides of Islam, but even so, these are their Muslim brothers and sisters who are going to be caught up in this, and why they would want a larger conflict. I don't know. I can't get into their heads. Okay, there's a terrible story about Sven-Goran Eriksson, who's the former England manager, who's got terminal cancer. He's only got a year to live at best. And this Scouse bastard here, this post office probe boss, acted like mafia gangster. He was horrible. I don't know if you saw him in the select committee yesterday, but it was the inquiry. It's not select committee, the post office inquiry. And he just didn't care. He was just such a nasty piece of work. He just didn't give a shit about any of it. And there's a picture of him there on the Telegraph. And the US and UK prepare strikes on Houthi rebel bases in Yemen. Again, grit your teeth and quit prosecuting. This is the Mail. As investigator, inquiries include is accused of the inquiry of acting. It's really hard to read. Like the mafia in prosecutions of postmasters. Memo reveals the top postal office lawyer told his colleagues to grit your teeth and keep prosecuting. Yeah, and then UK blitz warning to Iran. But I mean, it's not actually going to be Iran that is going to feel the force of this. It's going to be the people of Yemen who have already had to live with over 10 years of war. Even when I went to Yemen in 2010, it was unstable. It was, it wasn't a great place for people to go. Let's put it that way. Things have only just got worse from then on. Airstrikes on Houthis after strife in the Red Sea, as we were just talking about. And this is a really sad story in the Mirror. I mean, it's great that Prince William has given this CBE advert. And this is Rob Burrow, who was a rugby player, a professional rugby player, a guy who was big guy, and he's got motor neuron disease. You can see him there in his wheelchair, like Stephen Hawking was, and it's just heartbreaking to see this guy. He's only 41. He's 3 years younger than me, and it's just how cruel life can be. But he's been raising funds, and so has his one of his colleagues from work, from when he was a rugby player, has also been raising funds as well. And they were given an audience with 1 pint Willie, as he's known. That's Prince William, who apparently can only drink 1 pint before he gets drunk. I wish I could only drink 1 pint before I get drunk. It'd be so much cheaper to go out. Britain and US poised to launch strikes against Houthis in Yemen. That's in the Guardian there. The post office investigator acted like gangster. And then obviously that's Sven Goran Eriksson on the front of the Star there. UK prefers airstrikes on Yemen to protect food shipping, which is true. And then we've got a super chat. Thank you very much from Alec there. We kaboomed the Houthis and the economy grew by 0.3% in November. And then we got top spot spat with Microsoft and Apple wrestling over who's the richest company in the world, I presume. Yay, because there's no problems in the world. There's no problems going on. And then that's it, I think. And it's Sven Goran Eriksson saying, "Oh, you have a year to live." At least we get some warning. And does that sound awful? But at least we get some warning with Sven Goran Eriksson. When a lot of celebrities and people that we respect and people who we grew up with die, it's usually like just they're gone, and you're like, "Oh my God, where did that come from?" Especially people like, do you remember Princess Carrie Fisher, George Michael? Like, no one knew. It was just like they were there one day, and the next day they were gone. David Bowie, whose anniversary was 8 years ago. 8 years it's been this week. Hughes says Sven has had the news from the Grim Reaper, but good innings in his 80s. Yes, old fruit school friend snuffed it at 61 over Christmas. Just dropped dead like that. Heart failure. Lived Serbia these days. Bloody hell. It's one thing that my mum always says, which I completely agree with. She says, it doesn't matter, what you've done or where you've been or, how much money you've got. It's your health. It's your health that matters more than anything else. The Kaiser is dead as well. Prince says Vendetta. Yeah, Prince he was there one day and then he wasn't. Tragic. Rick Mail, yeah, that's another one, Lucy. Bloody hell. That's one of the ones that really, really upset me. When I talk about growing up with a celebrity. Rick Mail, certainly that. Anyway, so I'm gonna head off now. I've way over talked, but like I say, I'm not interrupting James O'Brien on LBC because he's not on today. He's attending a friend's funeral, just keeping it in the line of talking about death. Great. A beer tonight for Graham's 10 pints. Thank you very much, Captain Bart Roberts. If I drank 10 pints, I'll probably die. I don't think I can do that much, not anymore. I think maybe 3 pints and I'll be away with the fairies. So £5, I can go down the co-op and get a 4-pack. Yeah, I could do that. Okay, thank you very much, Captain Bart Roberts and Alec Barrett there for the super chats. And I'll be back at 1 o'clock with the agenda. Thank you very much for all the chat and the super chats and everything. And I'll be back with Phil Morehouse at 1 o'clock. So until then, I'll say hello, good evening, welcome, and